if Americans aren't having babies, why can't we just have more babies? Why do we have to bring in foreigners to have the babies that we won't have? Why maybe we just get off our iPhones and dim the lights, Judge.
Okay, right, so both sides clearly are not doing enough to address immigration, to have a legal process for immigration. The problem here is that they don't want to be in community with people who are not white. And great replacement theory is something that Fox has been talking about quite a bit lately. Let's watch Tucker Carlson.
The great replacement? Yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's their electoral strategy.
So that caused a huge stir at Fox when that ran in July. Everybody was talking about it after it happened, but recently, when Judge Jeanine basically said the same exact thing, it didn't really cause a stir at all. Now it's just a part of the casual conversation at Fox. Let's watch.
Do you think they can move fast enough in before the election so that they've got them in, legal, and ready to vote in 2024?
You lame duck the amnesty?
So this is where we're at in American politics. Cenk?
I mean, come on. The idea that they would bring in immigrants, make them citizens by 2024 and have them vote. The last time they were considering immigration reform, approximately 200 years ago, they proposed a 14-year waiting period. They'd be lucky to vote by the next century. Okay, so
if we make it there.
Yeah, so I don't know if Jeanine Pirro is just purely ignorant and doesn't know that any reform bill has them become citizens like a decade and a half later, or she knows it and she's just lying to her audience. Yep. Both are incredibly possible. Also, let's note the awkward thing of Jesse Waters saying to Judge Jeanine Pirro, let's turn off the lights, yes. And that was wonderfully awkward. Okay, now, but look at the insanity that the right wing consistently lives in. So Jesse Waters is like, we don't have to bring in immigrants to have babies. Well, good news, we're not bringing them in to have babies. Okay, you made that up in your crazy head, right? Number one, we're not bringing them in at all. They're coming in because they're in a desperate situation, they're looking for hope. And by the way, yes, we do have a border, yes, we do have laws, and yes, when they get here, they actually have to apply for asylum, and most of them don't get it. And most of them go back, right? So they never tell you any of that on Fox News, any of it, right? So no one's bringing them in, and we're certainly not bringing them in. Oh my God, guys, let's get some Bolivians up in here to have babies. Said no one ever, okay? They're allowed to have babies, but there's no purpose, there's no plan. Why do they say such insane things? Because that's what they would do. In fact, Jesse then confirmed it in the next sentence, like, we need to have more babies. We need white babies. Okay, that's their actual political strategy. Right. Well, good luck to you. Hey, Jesse, how about this? Why don't you convince the non-white people that you might actually care about them too? Instead of you having your whole political strategy be more white babies.
Yeah, bold strategy. Yeah. I'm just curious, like on this show, like do we go high or do we go low? Like,
by all means, low.
Okay. How I feel about this is like hearing from a guy like that, knowing his history and telling me what to do is pretty odd, considering that he couldn't keep his own marriage together when he cheated on his wife with a woman who is 2 touchdowns in age lower than he is. So like telling me to have more babies, dude, like, how about this? Just a quick thought. Stay out of my relationship, I'll stay out of yours. Don't go low with me, I won't go low with you. I think this is also, very quickly, I think there's a few wrinkles to this. The first is, as Jessica touched on, the great replacement theory is not necessarily fringe at all anymore. It's actually fairly mainstream, and we are seeing it time and time again in our politics. It's a humongous problem. It was put in the manifesto of domestic terrorists, who also, by the way, I feel like this is a Republican strategy, is to be like, well, I know what you are, but what am I? Sort of like what we saw at CPAC when they said we are all domestic terrorists, and it was plopped up there. It is just a message that they have now of saying, yeah, we are this, so what? Who cares? So like Elise Stefanik, Blake Masters, Donald Trump, all these Republicans who are preaching this great replacement theory over and over again, even if they might tweak the rhetoric a little bit, is obviously incredibly problematic. The other point to this, and this is very, very important, is that now we are in a day and age where frankly, women are allowed to have more of a say. Like, we aren't going back to the times of like, well, you're gonna get married at 20 and you're gonna have a kid at 22 and you're gonna be a housewife for the rest of your life. A lot more women wanna be involved in the workplace. They wanna have careers. They wanna be financially secure. They wanna be independent. They wanna be this sense of like individualism that is good and is pro-women. So there are many wrinkles to this. I don't think it's as easy as saying just have more babies. I think it's actually a cop-out.
Yeah, 100%. Just two quick things on that. Number one, they really do think they're gonna go back to those days. I mean, that's why Ricky brings it up. They're like, oh yeah. Look, and because they did several segments on it. We covered it last week and the week before. They're like, oh, guys, just get married right away. Women, just get married because single women are voting for Democrats and we need to get them married. And they think that we're gonna go back to 1955. Getting them married means barefoot and in the kitchen, and you don't get to go out to a job. You don't get to have independence. You don't get, dude. Thank God we're never going back to those times. They just don't get it. That's why they have a guy like Donald Trump as their leader, because they're clawing at reality. Like, I don't want it. I don't want reality. I want to go back. I want to make America great again, because they just constantly want to go backwards. And so it's partly the nature of conservatives and partly the fact that they realize that they're not going to win elections in the future. And guys, it isn't about demographics when it comes to race. It's about demographics when it comes to age. Young people are super progressive, and that's why you see Fox News and the Republicans panicking, because they know that better than anybody else does. And lastly, for me, Ricky's point about his marriage. Look, A, I don't care about his marriage. B, I don't care. Look, he now is with someone that he works with, but depends on whether they're reporting to one another, etc. But the part that to me is he bragged about like slashing his co-worker's tires so that she would be stuck and would have to rely on him, and then that way she would fall into his trap, and then he could cheat on her while married, and then get her instead. Like, this is
psychotic.
That's one, psychotic.
Psychotic, man.
Okay, number two, this is family values.
That's another great point. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, the party of family values. It's sad how much we can track back to the things that the Republicans do to just them wanting to live in a society run by and for white men. Like the way he says the Democrats want to make it seem like we don't like Hispanics, but then they go on to say, why are foreigners coming here? Why can't we just have the babies instead? We should build a wall, in fact, so that they can't come in. That's what we want. Why are they making it seem like we don't like people coming over the southern border? I don't know. Maybe look at your own track record. And what's interesting is none of their policies would actually do anything to quell migration over the southern border. There's some really interesting research from the Center for Migration Studies that showed once we close the border, people who are traveling as seasonal workers on the farms in the summers, they were going back home to Mexico. And now when we close the border, they had no choice but to stay because it was very dangerous to cross, because they didn't think they could come back and then make the money and provide for their families. So their exact policies that they want to implement to reduce permanent migration to the United States do the exact opposite. It's just astounding.
Of course.
Of course.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.